All right, good morning. This is Mr. McMurray. This is the tissue guide we're just going to go over. Hopefully everybody's turned theirs in already. So on the tissue guide, the first kind, this would be epithelial tissue, as would this one next to it. You have a single layer, so this would be simple, and they are flattened, so this would be simple squamish. This one, on the other hand, is more squarish colored and shaped, about as tall as it is wide, so this would be simple cuboidal. All right, but both are epithelial tissue. Now, C would be muscle. You can tell by the striatus, just like this down here. These are both muscles, C and F. C, though, is cardiac muscle. You can tell a couple of reasons. One, it has these dark bands, intercalatory disc between the cells. It also branches, and whereas these are single things. So F is going to be skeletal muscle, and C is going to be cardiac muscle. All right, now here we have a bunch of fibers. They run parallel to each other, so we would say this is regular dense connective tissue. Okay, it would probably be the best answer. All right, so you got a lot of fibers. They all run parallel to each other, so it would be connective tissue. And if you were coloring it, it would be the matrix. I'm not real worried about that right now, but there you go. All right, the circles here, these are actually what are called osteons. These are used to make bones. Bones, if you look at your bones under a microscope and took a section of it, it's made of little columns that run up and down. And so that's why you have these circular patterns. There's a hole in the middle where blood vessel comes and gives nutrients and stuff to the cells. Anyhow, basically, this is bone tissue. All right, and so of course this would be matrix, would be all this hard stuff, not the actual circles. Those are space, empty space, but all this space, all this other stuff here would be the actual bone material. And like I said, this one is skeletal muscle. All right, on the next page, you have a different picture here. It's a single cell, but it would be a neuron or nervous tissue. All right. And so that would be good. On the next one, H is actually hyaline cartilage. And so it has a little bit of fibers here and stuff, but basically it's probably hyaline cartilage. You got the cells embedded in the hard matrix. Fibrocartilage would have a lot of fibers, and then the elastic that's in your ears also has a lot of fiber in it, even more fiber. And so that would be hyaline cartilage and therefore matrix. All right, this is the other muscle. Now, the muscle pictures look kind of different, but the key thing is it's always fatter in the middle, skinnier at the ends, or tapers, sometimes called spindle-shaped. Anyhow, but that basically would be smooth muscle. All right. Like in your organs and your digestive system, your intestines and so forth, that squeeze the food down. All right, J, you have a slightly different picture. Actually, I like to think a better picture, and it has the big round signet cell looking things. These are big fat storage cells or adipose tissue. All right, and then below that, this would be, once again, they don't all look the same, but more in general, they're wider than they are tall, except for a few down here at the bottom. So we're going to say this is stratified squamish, which would be epithelial tissue. And finally, this one here, you have a few fibers, a few cells, lots of empty space, so areolar tissue would probably be by far the best answer for that one. Okay? All right, now, on the matching, I'm just going to go down them really quick. 17 is B, 18 is C, 19 is D, 20 is A, 21 is B, 22 is D, 23 is C, 24 is B, 25 is A, 26 is A, 27 is C, 28 is A, and 29 is D. Okay, a couple of them I know that people had questions about when we did it in class. Number 28, most widely distributed tissue type is the connective, because almost every organ or every part of your body has some kind of connective tissue that ties it to other parts of the body, as well as all your ligaments and tendons and things like that. So it's probably the most widespread. Epithelial would be also close, but definitely the best answer is connective. All right. Other ones I think are pretty good overall. I don't think there's too much questions about those. If you do, you know where to ask me. Okay. On the chart, mucous membranes are, they line the organs that are exposed to air. They are made out of various epithelial tissues, particularly some are stratified squamish, some are columnar, the ones that actually secrete the mucous cells, globules and stuff like that. So As long as you have epithelial cells of some sort there, we'll take it, and it is a wet membrane. Its functions are protection, secretion, filtration, and absorption. So they protect, they secrete, they filter, and they absorb things, depending on where they're found inside the body. All right. Serous membranes, or serosa, are lining of the body cavities and also the outside of the organs, and so they're rubbing each other very often. Once again, epithelial tissue, particularly simple squamish, and it is a wet membrane. And their main job is to reduce friction between the organs with each other and with the walls of the body cavity. So when they rub against each other, it's very slick. If you remember, they also make serous fluid that helps lubricate that, so it slides. Very good. All right, cutaneous skin made of stratified squamish, which is epithelial tissue on the top. That's the epidermis. The dermis below it is actually the connective tissue, irregular, dense connective tissue. Remember, fibers go all different directions so that when you pull in the skin, it doesn't split. It's equally strong in all directions, and it is the only dry membrane. All right, it gives you protection from things, mechanical or physical damage, chemicals, heat, thermal, radiation, bacteria, you name it. Kind of just protects your body from everything on the outside, basically. All right, synovium is found in the joints. Bursa sacs are an example. Tendon sheaths are another example. But basically, it's found around your joints, either protecting the joints or the tendons. It's made of areolar connective tissue, and it is considered wet membrane. Okay, it protects and cushions the joints and tendons. The joints, it kind of acts as little shock absorbers to absorb the blows when you walk and hit things and stuff like that. The joints and tendons actually are wrapped around with this kind of a membrane, and it helps keep it from rubbing on the bone and wearing out the tendon. All right, the last one, best for last, is this one. Okay, now I didn't have very many colors, so you'll have to excuse the lack of colors or the reuse of the same colors. All right, first of all, this is the heart. So we know it's going to be pericardium or pericardium. Now, the heart doesn't have its own body cavity. It's in the thoracic cavity with the lungs, but it does have its own little sac around it. And that little sac around it is called the pericardium, and the sac would be the parietal pericardium. So it would be like the cavity wall around it. All right. Then if you actually touch the surface of the heart, that would be the visceral pericardium. So visceral is just the surface of the heart. If you actually touch the heart, that would be the visceral pericardium. The sac around it would be the parietal pericardium. All right. Skin, just anywhere on here, if you colored skin would be the cutaneous membranes. All right. Now for the lungs, the lining inside the rib cage and all that on the inside of the thoracic cavity, that would be the parietal pleura. Okay. Parietal pleura, pleura meaning lungs. All right. Now, if you actually touch the surface of the lungs, that would be the visceral pleura. All right. It's actually coating the organ or the gut tissue. Okay. So that would be the actual that. All right. Then down here, this inside layer of all these pathways going to the lungs, going to your digestive system, all the way till it comes out the other end, is basically going to be, it's in the, these are called mucosa or mucous membranes. Okay. So that would be all of those. Now, on the outside of all the organs down here in the abdominal pelvic, whether it be the intestines or stomach or spleen or whatever, that would be the visceral peritoneum. That was not on your thing, but just know that the organs on the outside of the organs in your peritoneum, okay, is a visceral peritoneum. And of course, if we could do the cavity here and say the walls of the cavity around there, that would be the parietal peritoneum. Okay, just want to remind everybody what the peritoneum is and where it's found. And the last thing is the synovial membranes, which are around the joints and help protect and cushion the joints. All right, that's pretty much it. So if you'll just check yours, make sure you have all those and understand all those, because they will be on the test coming up on Wednesday.